Between the years 2010 and 2024, house prices across the European Union skyrocketed by a massive 53%. But here is the kicker. Overall, inflation over that exact same period was only 39%, and your actual paycheck essentially went backward. In fact, European real wages dropped by a staggering 4.2% in the year 2022. That means even if your boss gave you a shiny new raise, you still ended up poorer at the grocery checkout. Hey friends, X-Money Lab here. 93% of Europeans recently surveyed said this exact cost of living crisis is their biggest daily nightmare. Your salary might look bigger on paper right now, but your bank account is definitely screaming for help by the end of the month. We are diving into a wild economic mystery today. So, who or what is secretly eating up all your hard-earned cash before you can even spend it? Part 1. The European Price Shock. Picture getting a record-breaking 6.1% raise at your job, only to realize you are actually poorer than the day before. That is exactly what happened across the European Union in 2023. According to the European Commission, nominal wages hit an absolute all-time high, but overall purchasing power still went down the drain. Why? Because the actual cost of staying alive simply ran faster than your paycheck could ever dream of. Let us unpack the European price shock and figure out exactly where your money went. The spark that lit this entire inferno was energy. Back in 2022, wholesale gas and electricity prices did not just tick upward, they exploded overnight. You might think your winter heating bill going up is annoying but survivable. But here is the catch. Energy is the invisible ingredient in literally everything you buy. It takes massive electricity to run the industrial ovens that bake your daily bread. It takes expensive diesel to fuel the logistics networks and delivery trucks hauling that bread across the continent. It takes constant power to keep the supermarket refrigerators running 24/7. When the foundational cost of energy triples, every single link in the supply chain gets significantly more expensive. A local bakery cannot just absorb a massive utility spike. They have to pass that cost directly onto you just to avoid bankruptcy. And speaking of supply chains, they were already a fragile mess. Coming out of the global pandemic, international shipping lanes were clogged, and factories were fighting over basic components. Imagine a European car manufacturer that suddenly cannot get enough microchips, steel, or even basic plastics. What do? They produce fewer cars and raise the prices on the ones they do manage to build. On a macroeconomic scale, European companies faced intense shortages of raw materials. To secure what little supply existed, they paid massive premiums. But wait, the plot thickens, and it gets a little darker. Trade unions across Europe recently called out a controversial phenomenon known as the profits price spiral. Here is how this sneaky tactic works. When inflation dominates the nightly news, everybody naturally expects things to get more expensive. Consumers are psychologically primed to accept higher price tags. Some major corporations looked at this chaotic environment and realized they had the perfect cover story. Instead of just raising prices enough to cover their genuinely higher operating costs, they pushed them much higher. They padded their profit margins under the clever disguise of inflation. The European Trade Union Confederation reported that these corporations posted record-breaking profits, while average workers were left holding the bag. Your hard-earned wages stagnated, but their corporate profit margins skyrocketed. You were not just paying for more expensive fuel, you were actively funding record corporate bonuses. Now let us talk about the absolute heaviest weight dragging down your wallet: housing. The brutal reality is a massive structural housing deficit. Simply put, Europe is not building nearly enough places for human beings to live. Major urban hubs like Berlin, Paris, Dublin, and Amsterdam are powerful magnets for jobs, drawing millions of young professionals. But the supply of available apartments is practically frozen. Strict historic zoning laws, ridiculously expensive building materials, and agonizingly slow local permit processes mean that new housing developments are stalled. When a dozen desperate renters are fighting over a single tiny studio apartment, landlords hold all the power. They can charge astronomical rents because they know someone will eventually have to pay it. The European Central Bank has explicitly noted that core inflation in the Eurozone remains incredibly persistent right now, largely fueled by these sticky rent and service prices. Unlike wholesale gas prices, which can drop just as fast as they spike, rents are stubbornly sticky. Once a landlord raises your monthly rent, it almost never goes back down. This structural crisis is disproportionately crushing minimum wage earners across the continent. In fact, the Eurofound agency recently reported that rising housing costs are severely limiting the effectiveness of any recent wage hikes. If your boss gives you an extra €100 a month, but your landlord raises your rent by €200, you are literally going into debt just to keep a roof over your head. Essential everyday expenses like shelter, heating, and basic groceries are not optional lifestyle choices. You cannot just decide to stop eating food or living indoors when prices get ridiculous. This creates an unyielding, suffocating pressure on household budgets, completely wiping out whatever modest wage increases workers manage to secure. The cost side of the equation has morphed into a monstrous beast that eats your salary for breakfast. Part 2. Why your paycheck is stuck. So, if the cost of surviving is sprinting forward like an Olympic athlete, why is your paycheck crawling like a tired turtle through peanut butter? It all comes down to a notoriously frustrating economic concept called wage stickiness. Think about your local supermarket for a second. If the global price of imported coffee beans shoots up on a Tuesday morning, the store manager can literally print new, higher price tags by Wednesday afternoon. Boom! Instant adjustment. The cost is instantly passed right down to you, the consumer. But your monthly salary? That does not come with a convenient digital dial your boss can just spin upward when the economy gets tough. In Europe, the way we get paid is fundamentally different from a lot of other global markets, largely because of the heavy reliance on the collective bargaining system. Now, do not get me wrong, having strong, organized trade unions is historically fantastic for protecting workers' basic rights, ensuring safe conditions, and fighting for long-term benefits. But when inflation explodes out of absolutely nowhere, that exact same protective system, ironically, turns into a massive structural trap. Here is how the trap actually works in practice. European wage agreements are usually locked in through massive, incredibly complex, multi-year contracts. These are negotiated between giant national union representatives and massive industry employers. Imagine trying to steer a gigantic ocean cargo ship. It takes miles and miles of open water just to turn the vessel a few degrees. If a sudden storm of inflation spikes right in the middle of your 3-year union contract, you are completely stuck on the boat. Your wages are legally locked in at a flat rate that might have made perfect sense 2 full years ago, long before the energy crisis and the supply chain chaos hit the fan. You cannot just march into the Human Resources Office and demand a mid-year cost of living adjustment. The big corporate bosses will just smile, point at the legal calendar on the wall, and say, "Hey, our hands are tied. You have to wait until the union renegotiates in 2025. This built-in structural lag is absolutely brutal on the working class. In fact, according to the Cairn.info Economic Journal, by late 2023, real wages in the euro area had only recovered to their early 2022 levels in 5 specific countries. Let that disturbing fact sink in for a moment. Out of the entire sprawling eurozone, only 5 nations managed to drag their citizens' purchasing power back to where it was nearly 2 full years prior. For everyone else on the continent, it was just a slow, incredibly painful slide backward into daily financial stress. And this brings us directly into the corporate boardroom. We already know that many major companies use the chaotic headline inflation as a convenient excuse to massively pad their profit margins. But the real insult to injury is what they actively chose to do with that mountain of extra cash. Did they voluntarily rip up those old union contracts out of the goodness of their hearts and distribute that record wealth to the workers struggling to pay their heating bills? Absolutely not. From a purely corporate perspective, keeping wages incredibly sticky is highly profitable. While their quarterly revenue was surging because they cranked up prices on you, their labor costs remained artificially low because of those slow-moving bargaining cycles. It was the ultimate double win for the corporate elite. They actively prioritized massive stock buybacks, huge dividend payouts for shareholders, and fat executive bonuses over fair wage distribution for the people actually doing the work. They basically rode the inflation wave, surfing comfortably on the massive, growing gap between the fast-rising prices they charged and the incredibly slow-moving wages they paid you. And when the labor unions finally do get back to the negotiating table after years of waiting, the corporations suddenly play the ultimate victim card. They look at the union representatives and say, "Oh, we cannot possibly give you a 10% raise to match the inflation you just lived through. That would trigger a recession." So exhausted workers are forced to compromise, accepting a meager 3 or 4% bump. It is a mathematical losing game. Every single month that your wages failed to catch up to the new cost of living, that money was permanently lost from your bank account. You do not get retroactive back pay for the 6 months you spent eating cheap instant noodles just to survive. This slow-motion bargaining cycle creates a permanent, devastating dent in your lifetime wealth. While the cost of everything from daily bread to a roof over your head leaped to a new, terrifyingly high plateau, European salaries were structurally designed to take the stairs. And spoiler alert, those stairs are currently broken. Part 3. Will wages ever catch up? Even though nominal wage growth hit a record high of 6.1% in 2023 across the European Union, workers still ultimately lost overall purchasing power. Why? Because the structural damage has already been done. Politicians might be celebrating right now because real wages are technically projected to inch forward in 2024 and 2025. But here is the harsh truth. That does not mean prices are going back down. The cost of living simply stopped rising quite as aggressively as before. The baseline cost for absolute essentials has permanently shifted upward. In fact, the European Central Bank recently warned that core inflation remains stubbornly persistent. This is largely fueled by services and rent prices that respond incredibly slowly to any economic cooling. Think about it practically. If your monthly rent permanently jumps by €300, a delayed 4% pay bump 2 full years later does not magically erase the thousands of euros you already burned through just to survive. That wealth evaporated from your savings account forever. This brutal math creates a harsh new normal, especially for young Europeans trying to navigate adulthood. We are looking at an era of substantially lower disposable income, where a much larger slice of your paycheck is instantly swallowed by basic shelter and groceries. Unless we see massive systemic changes to how housing and daily necessities are priced, European salaries will constantly be fighting a losing battle against the structural stairs of inflation. The cheap cost of living is officially a thing of the past. If you found this breakdown helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to X Money Lab so we can keep uncovering the real economy together. Stay sharp out there.